Thank you, Jim. 1992 was Dick Barton from ASL, and who was mentioned earlier couldn't join us. 1991, John Knipe from Wildan Associates. In 1990, Mike Kleinbrod, another one from Simi Valley. 1989 was Jerry Wedding, and he was, at the time, was working for the city of Fillmore. And then in 1988 was Pat.
Thanks, Ron. I kind of started with the association shortly after it started. But one of my jobs when I was on the board initially was to find a place, and we were jumping around looking for all of these places, and I happened to find a Tavio's. I had gone to the restaurant because I didn't know if they had a back room, and then they took me over to that place that we were very happy with, and we had a great time there, but we were having problems with our reservations. So one of the times I called back to confirm, and they only had a person that really English was not their first language. And I said, I'm calling to confirm that we are going to have 60 people there on that day. And then we show up that afternoon, and the place is like a tomb. All the lights are off, there's nothing there. I find the lady, the owner, and she said, well, I'm sorry, that was canceled 3 days ago. I said, I confirmed it. And so somebody, one of her staff had canceled it. But a couple of people from Wildan, Chris Lynch, and I think Jim
Taylor,
I think it was you guys, graciously got in a, was it a Volkswagen or something? A small car, and they went and got all the pizzas that we needed, and then the lady provided us, you know, she got plates and silverware and stuff. But boy, I tell you, we were just really scrambling there, you know, having 60 people there and, you know, nothing to eat.
Thank you, Pat. 1987 was Jim Franson, who was Oxnard Director of Public Works. I actually talked to him on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and he said, oh my God, he'd love to join us, but he had a commitment out of state, so he couldn't be with us. And then in 1986, from the city of Ventura at the time, was Chuck.
Thank you. In '86, well, I was with the city of Ventura. I worked for Ron and I worked for Shelley. And for several years prior to that, I was on the board from there. During that year, I moved to Wildan. So we had a couple different things. When we sent out mailings, they cost 22 cents for each one of them. And I think we were making $1 on a meal at the Colonial House. One of the things that comes to my mind most at the Colonial House was Mike Kleinbrod, who was one of the past presidents. He was treasurer at the time. And they didn't trust our count. We would count heads, they would count plates. And we were accused a couple times of shorting the cook. And one time the cook actually came out with his meat cleaver. And Mike did not back down. I thought we were going to have to move sooner than what we did. So.
Thank you, Chuck. 1985, George Berg. How many people remember George Berg? He was a kick. Unfortunately, he passed away a year or two ago. George was always making jokes. He would stand up and introduce himself as somebody else, so that's what I always remember about George. He was quite a character. And then in 1984, Ron Coons.
Yeah, that was in the last century, of course, several decades ago. But like a few of us, Shelley was my mentor and got me started, and appreciate that, Shelley. And actually, I got elected by accident. It was a mistake. I went by Ron C, and the guy before me was Ron C. Over here. They thought he did such a good job, they wanted to re-elect him. But, so that's the mistake why I got it. They confused us because we both had the same position in the city, and we both had a son, David, the same age. We were both in the Boy Scouts with our sons. They both made Eagle Scout together. We both had a secretary named Denise. We both drove a gray Yukon. I mean, it was just unreal, you know. So I think there was just a confusion why I got there. So that's. But I did try to get a lot of people that surround myself with a lot of good people. Simi Valley was a good area that I prompted many people to be involved. As you see, probably 10 or 12 of these past presidents either were from Simi Valley or the county that also promoted a lot of interest in APWA. Great organization. Great to be with you. Thank you.
Thanks, RC. I was president in 1983. I was a senior engineer at the time at the Ventura Regional Sanitation District, and actually during the year I quit the sanitation district and I went to work as city engineer in Santa Barbara, and so I commuted back to finish out my term as president. You know, I was really pleased. The thing I remember is I was very pleased to get a call from the director of public works from the city of Ventura asking me to help out with the profession. You know, Shelley was hired in 1975 as public works director. I was just a few years out of graduate school then, and I thought at the time, gee, that'd be kind of a neat job to have someday. And literally, I didn't go after it, but it just kind of fell into place. But the best memory I have is that first meeting when we didn't know if anybody would show up, and we had 75 people show up. And there's also a little known fact. Do you know how we picked Dan Greeley to be the first president? We were sitting at probably the last of our organizational meetings, and we had set up the first real meeting, and we looked at each other and said, oh my God, who's going to be president? And Steve Thompson said, hell no, I'm not going to be president. And Dan looked at me and said, tell you what, the first year's a partial year. I'll do it in 82, because we were already part way through 82. He said, if you'll do it for 83. So we said, okay, that's how we did it. You know, in closing, what a fabulous experience to watch how this group has evolved. The evolution from an idea to the branch to the chapter. Can't believe it's been 30 years, but the years click by, and you have all taken this organization to great heights, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being part of this chapter and for being part of our 30-year history. Thank you very much.
Ron, you and all the past presidents did not disappoint. What a great presentation. Thank you very much for the history of our chapter and for your encouragement for our future and all the great little tidbits we get along the way. I'm not going to try and